Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I have posted in the past. If you have any videos that you would like me to make, please let me know. Today's video is a good example in response to a question that posted by a viewer. The viewer asked me, what happened after you heat up the oil past a smoking point? We know that some of the oil will be converted into residues that due to the breakdown product, and this will release as a oil film. And I have posted video about this in the past, both in regards to the danger as well as the ways how you can avoid breathing in these harmful residues. However, the question went a little bit further. The question regards to what happened to the oil that have left behind. Will the oil also contain harmful residues? Should you continue to use this oil, or you should discard the oil and replace it with fresh oil? So this video, I would like to address this question. One of the greatest advantages of stir frying is that its flexibility in terms of the amount of heat that you use. Stir frying can be cooked with a huge amount of heat. And when you have a lot of heat, it allows you to cook very quickly. And this is what is being done in a professional restaurant. When I was cooking in a Chinese restaurant as a cook during the year when I was in college, I remember I cooked on a burner that gave up about 100,000 BTU, and it created tremendous amount of heat. This will allow me to cook a dish in about 4 to 5 minutes. But at the same time, I create a lot of oil film because the oil being overheated during the cooking process unless I carefully control the amount of heat. Now this, unfortunately, often misinterpreted by some people who do stir frying. They under the impression is that you can only stir fry adequately with a lot of heat. But it turned out to be not the case at all. And unfortunately, when people do not observe the amount of heat that is being used, quite often the heat will cause the oil to reach over its smoking point and create oil film. Now, as studies have shown repeatedly, is that this oil film contains harmful molecules. Then when it being breathed, it will result in numerous respiratory issues, including lung cancer. However, when it comes to stir frying, as in the case of frying, creating oil film almost unavoidable. So in this case, it is important that stir frying or any frying should be conducted under an exhaust fume hood. The question that the viewer asked me is that if that is the case, what happens if the oil that has been heated over its smoking point? Will the oil that remain in the wok also contain harmful molecules? This is a very good question. In fact, this question was brought up to me several years ago by my friend George. After he started doing stir frying, he has a little bit concern about the oil that after it has been heated up to the smoking point, which usually takes place during stir frying, at least in some instances, he's worried about whether there are harmful molecules. And the reason for that is that because his family has a long history of colon cancer. And he's worried about the oil residues that might remain in the oil after it has been reheated up to the smoking point. And he would like to know, would there be residues that still remain in the cooking oil that will increase his risk for colon cancer? After he brought this up to me, I did some research and looked at whatever evidence that available, whether the residues that remain in the oil that have been heated beyond smoking point, will this residue be harmful? From the evidence that I have examined and the research that have done up to that point, is that the conclusion is unclear. And there are some residues still remain in the oil after it has been heated past the smoking point, but it's very small. And the reason is for that most of the harmful residues of the oil that has been heated beyond the smoking point is usually released as a oil droplet, and this enter into the atmosphere. Occasionally, some of them might settle back down into the oil, but the amount apparently is very small, insignificant to causing any damaging effect. Again, this has a lot to do with exposure. If somebody being exposed to this oil constantly, that could be a problem. Now, of course, this issue remains in all types of cooking that involve with frying. Anytime when you fry anything, such as an egg or a piece of meat, oil film production is almost inevitable. And in this case, the oil film will be released, and the residue, whatever residue that might release, some might probably settle back into the oil. So from this standpoint, after I did this research, and I report to George, I said, if you want to be absolutely sure, then you should avoid consuming any oil that potentially will have these residues in it. In this case, I provide him with a solution, particularly with my spot seasoning method for create a non-stick cook surface on the surface of a wok with natural surface, such as stainless steel, carbon steel, or cast iron. Now, in this approach, I usually will heat up the oil until it reaches smoking point, and I let it to smoke about 5 or 10 seconds. This is essential to create a non-stick cook surface on this type of wok materials. And the approach is that for George to heat up the oil and using the spot seasoning method, in this case he used a stainless steel wok, to season the wok to create a non-stick cook surface. And then he will pour off the oil that remained in the wok, and then he will use a piece of paper towel to wipe off any excessive oil that's still left on the surface of the wok. Now, this wiping will not affect the coating that are created by the process of spot seasoning, so his wok still will have a non-stick cook surface, and he has done experiment to show that this is the case. And then he will add fresh oil. In this case, he chose to use extra virgin olive oil. It's the oil that he feels that has the most health benefit. And when he starts cooking, he will never heat this oil beyond its smoking point. When George using this approach, he can be assured that no residues that potentially created by oil heated beyond the smoking point will settle back into the oil. With this method, he feels more comfortable with his stir frying. So for people who are really concerned of any oil residues that might still remain from the oil that has been heated beyond its smoking point and worried about the harmful effect of this oil, this would be a good approach to take. Now, this method appeared to be cumbersome because the first step in seasoning wok with my spot seasoning method, you have to heat the oil beyond the smoking point in order to create that coating that would provide the wok with a non-stick cook surface. Now, however, this could be avoided if one switched to a wok with non-stick coating, a wok that is come with a chemically modified surface, such as a Teflon coated surface. Now, in this case, you never have to heat the oil beyond its smoking point during the cooking process, because there will be no need to season the wok, because the wok is already with a non-stick cook surface. However, there are always pros and cons. In this case, the temperature of the wok probably will never get very hot because of the non-stick coating. And of course, the non-stick coating has its own problem. The peeling of the non-stick coating can causing potential harm. So in this case, you solve one problem, but might add a different problem. But again, a lot of this when it comes down to what a person feels most comfortable with. When I recommend this method to George, and he decided he would stick with the first method because he feels that he's far more comfortable with a wok with natural surface than with a wok with chemically modified non-stick coating, because he's concerned about the peeling of the non-stick coating from this type of wok that could also causing potential health damage, in this case particularly in regarding to the tendency for his family to develop colon cancer. So in summary, my conclusion to this question is that first and foremost is the risk of chemical residues that remain in the oil that has been heated beyond its smoking point is relatively low. Secondly is that the best thing to do is to avoid cooking in situations that will heat up the oil beyond its smoking point. And in this case, avoid frying is probably the most effective strategy. And then, of course, third is to use the method George used, is to simply remove the oil that has been heated beyond its smoking point and replace it with some fresh oil, and you never heat the fresh oil beyond the smoking point. And the last but not the least is that perhaps to adopt a wok with a chemically modified non-stick coating. And in this case, one can completely avoid the step of spot seasoning. I appreciate the question from this viewer, and I encourage anybody, if you have any questions, please let me know. I will be happy to create a video and answer your questions. I am sure many other people probably have the same question as well. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system. If you'd like to learn more about my fast cooking system and how to help you to make home cooking practical, efficient, creative, and fun, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.